Hi, I'm Dan Hendricksen, and helping our customers at Domo do cool things with our software is my jam. At Domo, we understand the challenges our customers face when working with large volumes of data, especially unstructured data like PDFs and images. Extracting meaningful insights and taking the right actions can be complex and challenging. That's why we're excited to show you how Modocorp leverages Domo and our AI-powered tools to simplify and streamline their vendor invoice submission process, saving time, reducing errors, and driving greater efficiency. All right, I'll start by showing you what the experience looks like for a vendor at Modocorp that's got some invoices to submit. You can see here I'm at Modocorp's vendor portal, and I'm going to log in as Corey Fitzgerald at Harmony Design. Once I'm in the portal, you can see I've got access to a variety of different content, but we're going to focus on this Invoices tab. You can see here I've got some information about my historical invoices by status, my tier as a vendor, and when I can expect my next payment. I've got access to historical payouts, but what I want to draw your attention to is this Submit New Invoice tab. This is where I'll submit the 2 invoices that I want Modocorp to pay. All right, there's our invoice for SaaS application mock. We'll get that submitted, and I've got one other here for logo design. So as a vendor, it's just that easy. I come, I upload my invoices, and since this is powered by Domo, we've got real-time access to exactly what's happening. If I navigate back over here to the Invoice Details tab, you can see I've got the logo design invoice here for $448 with the status of pending, and the SaaS application mocks also with the status of pending. Now, let's jump behind the scenes and we'll show you what this looks like for Modocorp. Here I am as a Modocorp employee in Domo's web application, and I'm going to look at my invoice review app. You can see here initially, it looks a lot like what the vendor saw, where I've got access to different information, and you can see I've filtered it down to Harmony Design here. I can see that they've got one pending invoice. I can see some information about who's processed those, but what I really want to focus on here is action invoices. This is where, as an employee on the invoice review team, I can come to approve and submit these invoices for payment. We can see here we've got an invoice that's been handled by the AI already. What this means for Modocorp, we talked about the streamlining and efficiencies. Based on our historical business with this vendor and the tier that they hold, our AI has made the decision to automatically approve this invoice due to the amount and the services that were provided. Because AI isn't always perfect, I've got an opportunity to come in and review this invoice and make any adjustments if I want to. At Modocorp, we've got a cure period where after 1 week, this invoice will automatically be actioned by our AI assistant. I'm going to ignore this one for a moment. To make this demonstrable, we've got a timeout on this one at 4 minutes. I want to take a moment and focus on this other invoice that has not been AI reviewed for $6,720. You can see the AI has presented who the vendor is, what the description of the services are, and the amount that it automatically extracted from that invoice the vendor submitted. If I notice any errors or anything that I want to change, I've got the opportunity to do that here, but this looks good. The amount of $6,720 matches what is here on the invoice. I'm going to go ahead and select that this invoice is approved. Just like that, Domo's AI has extracted that information from the invoice and allowed me to take action on that faster than ever before. If we look here at the detail view, you can see that that $6,720 invoice is approved and was actioned by Dan Hendricksen. I want to pivot back to the view that Corey with Harmony Design sees in the vendor portal, and we can see that in real time, Corey has an understanding that I actioned the larger invoice for $6,720 and that the $448 invoice was approved and actioned by our AI assistant. Now, let's talk about how this is all possible. The different assets that you saw me as a Modocorp employee and Corey as a vendor with Harmony Design interface with were all created in Domo's App Studio. You can see this is done without writing a single line of code. We've got an intuitive drag and drop interface that allows us to prescribe the different interactions and modify the different elements that users are able to interact with. Even that experience we saw at that external site outside of the Domo web application was done leveraging the same tooling. Even the assets that Corey interacted with inside of the vendor portal, the external site that's powered by Domo content, was made with that same intuitive drag and drop interface. You can see here, not only were we able to create the content, this is exactly what Corey saw, but we were able to embed this app inside of that vendor portal with just a few clicks. The section where the invoice submission occurred, this invoice submission kicks off a workflow in Domo, an AI-driven process that handles all the business rules and the logic to know exactly what to do with that submitted invoice. Let's take a look at that workflow. Here in Domo's workflow engine, we've got an intuitive drag and drop interface where we've laid out the process that we want each submitted invoice to run through. In this case, we're parsing an image. We're generating a unique identifier for that record, and we're looking up details about the vendor and the transaction. From there, we use our AI tools to evaluate some rule sets to determine how this invoice should be handled based on our historical dealings with that vendor and their status with Modocorp. We create a new data record, and then we hit our first point of conditional logic. If our AI tooling is determined that manual approval is required, it's going to come down this path that you saw the larger invoice take, where we want a person on the Modocorp team to personally review that. If it meets the rule sets for automatic approval and the AI is confident in what it found, it's going to go down this other path where we update that status to handled by the AI agent, and we hit this 1-week cure period where a Modocorp employee can make any adjustments to that. We like to have human-in-the-loop activities. AI is great, but it's not perfect, and this allows us to be very comfortable with what the AI is doing. Once either of those paths are completed, we force that data sync so the customer has real-time access, we send a notification, and our workflow is complete. Thank you for taking a few minutes with me as I walked you through that solution. As you saw, Modocorp is harnessing AI to transform unstructured data from images into actionable insights, driving intelligent processes that streamline operations and unlock efficiency they never thought possible. That entire solution we just walked through, including building the interfaces, the workflow, all of it was built in an afternoon without writing a single line of code. And the best part? This is just the beginning of what Domo's AI-powered platform can achieve. I encourage you to explore these solutions further and discover how they can optimize your processes, empower your teams, and elevate efficiency across your entire business.